Good afternoon. My name is Larry Klayman. You know me as the founder of both Judicial Watch and now Freedom Watch. I'm currently the chairman and general counsel of Freedom Watch. I'm also a former federal prosecutor, and before all of that, I was, and still am, an international lawyer. I know a little bit about foreign affairs and what goes on. I've lived in France. I studied in France. I had clients all over the world and still do. But I want to talk about what's been going on just in the last few days in the Middle East. I want to caution President Trump to listen to his own instincts, to not follow the advice necessarily of his advisors and Secretary of State. The Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, is big oil from Texas. He, of course, was head of ExxonMobil. He's had a lot of dealings with the Arabs. If he could, he would bow down to the King of Saudi Arabia. Believe me, just like Obama did, but for different reasons. He wants the oil for his former company and for his friends in Texas. And he made a statement recently, public statement, equating the land of Israel to Palestine. Well, it's not Palestine in terms of Arabic ownership, it's Israel. And in fact, that land was given to the Jews and by extension Christians by God.
As you know, the president has recently expressed his view that he wants to put a lot of effort into seeing if we cannot advance a peace initiative between Israel and Palestine.
And it does not belong to the Palestinians. It is not their capital, East Jerusalem. Their capital, as all Muslims, is Mecca in Saudi Arabia. But when you see the president going to conferences trying to unite the Arab world, that can be very counterproductive, because one of the things that's kept Israel alive is the fact that the Arab world has never been united. In fact, they hate themselves almost as much as they hate Jews and Christians. That's a reality. The only thing that brought them together is the fear of Iran. And bringing them together and arming them to the hilt with $350 billion of American military equipment may be good for the American military-industrial complex, but it's not good for world stability, because these arms could easily be turned on Israel. They hate the Jews. That's a fact. There's nothing out there that anyway changes the situation. They've been taught for over 6,000 years to hate our guts, and they hate Christians too. But they're willing to do business because that's the way they are. They're two-faced. The Saudis practice the most extreme form of Islam, Wahhabi Muslim, which believes that if your son or daughter decides to become Christian or doesn't follow the ways of Allah, that you should kill them. In fact, I've had clients who were married to an individual who actually threatened to kill his kids when the wife wanted to raise the kids as Catholic. This is what you're dealing with. And to go along merrily with this whole concept of uniting the Arab world to fight Iran, that begs the issue. We should empower Israel, and we should help Israel to fight Iran ourselves. And we're the only ones that can take this regime out. And this regime is a threat. Now, of course, the first order of business is North Korea. They're on the verge of nuclear-tipped ballistic missiles that can hit Seattle, Los Angeles, elsewhere. They already can hit Japan and places in that region if they chose to put a nuclear weapon on top of one of their ballistic missiles, and they're very close apparently to doing that, and they're trying to do that. So the best thing that we could do is to free Israel up, and we should participate in taking out the Iran nuclear program militarily. Just let's blast it to smithereens. That'll be a warning to everyone that we're not going to kowtow to anything. And before we even get to Iran, we should take care of North Korea, because at that point maybe we'll even be able to renegotiate the agreement with Iran when they see how we dealt with Korea. But I have to caution President Trump here, because his advisors are not pro-Israel. Perhaps his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, is, who's an Orthodox Jew, and Gary Cohn, who's also an advisor right now in the administration. But the reality is that these advisors, Tillerson and even General McMaster, they are very pro-Arab, and they are not pro-Israel. And that's why you're now seeing this division in Israel, because Prime Minister Netanyahu is still trying to make nicey nice with the United States. He doesn't want to criticize Trump on the surface, but really it's a very untroubling situation that Trump is being pushed into this very pro-Arab coalition. And if you think the Arabs are going to take steps to change the way ISIS thinks or Al-Qaeda thinks, forget it. They pay ransom to these terrorist groups to keep them from lopping off the heads of the royal family, because the royal family is a threat to them. And in fact, the people of Saudi Arabia and in these other countries, if they had a chance, they would be lopping the heads off of these leaders too, because that's how oppressive they are. So frankly, I think President Trump is making a mistake. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. He needs to reverse course. He should be listening to his own instincts and what he said during the presidential campaign. He should be listening to the Steve Bannons of the world, not to the Rex Tillersons, Arab, pro-Arab, Texas oil man who could care less about Israel, much like James Baker, former chief of staff to President Reagan, former Secretary of State under George W. Bush. These people do not wish Israel any well. So for people who love Israel, for people who view Israel as the place of our roots, the place of Moses, King David, Jesus, we have to be very troubled by what's going on right now. You cannot make nicey nice to Saudi Arabia and the Arabs, because in the end it will wind up biting us in the derriere, and it will certainly threaten Israel. And if Israel feels threatened, and if those $350 billion of aid are used against Israel, you can expect Israel to use nuclear weapons, and that could be the end of the world. So I throw these thoughts out. I realize there are a lot of thoughts, but I want people to think about it, because it's not what you see on TV from all sources. This isn't something that's great. This is something which could potentially be very troubling, and we at Freedom Watch are following the situation very closely. And the first thing that President Trump can do today is to state that he's definitely going to move the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Jerusalem is the home and the capital of the Jewish people, and by extension, Christianity. It does not belong in any way to the Palestinians or the Arabs. If they want a homeland, they can decide what to do. But the best thing to do would be to say, look, this is the way it's going to be, guys. You figure out how you're going to deal with it, Palestinians, because Jerusalem belongs to Jews and Christians. God bless you. God bless America. God bless Jesus Christ. God bless all of his disciples. God bless everybody who is religious. God bless everybody who views the Holy Land as integral to our future. Have a nice day.